reloaders and shooters out there, Fortune Cookie 45LC coming to you from the hot lead zone. And what we have here are 51 cases of 38 special brass, all nickel Remington Peters. And what we have here are 50 rounds of brass HRP empties. So they're all matched brass. And the question we're going to answer today is there any benefit to using matched pistol brass compared to mixed unsorted brass? These have all been tumbled, all ready to go. Now the HRP brass is once fired and it's pretty clean, so we're not even going to bother to tumble these. So the first step would be to resize these. So let's go over some resizing issues. We've got our Lee resizing die set up to just barely touch the shell holder. And now let's go ahead and resize and deprime all these cases. You don't need to see 50 times of that. This is that fine 38 special brass sent to me by Leadfly 762 out of Arlington, Texas. So thanks again for this. And this brass is made by the HPR company out of Arizona. Fine loaded factory ammo from the HPR company. This is once fired, so we didn't bother to tumble this. And now it's all resized and deprimed, ready for the next step. So just as a test, let's go ahead and do something that we don't normally do with our handgun brass, and that is we'll go ahead and uniform the primer pockets. Kind of give this brass some extra case prep. See if it makes any difference in our handgun ammo performance. Doesn't take long, and what this does is uniforms the primer pockets. Show you that. Now take a look at all that brass that came out of 100 rounds of primer pockets being uniformed. And one question we have to ask ourselves is, obviously the factories don't think that's worthwhile doing. But you have to admit that looks pretty nice to have those primer pockets all uniform and shiny like that. But we've got to ask a question to ourselves, and that is, if you have, say, 300,000, 500,000 of these cases go through your hands in your career, and you're going to devote 6 seconds to doing each primer pocket, that's a lot of time. Is it worthwhile? Now our mixed brass is tumble clean, but that's it. We're going to go ahead and reload these just the way they are. Now we're going to use the fine Lyman Keith style 173 grain semi-wad cutter bullet in the 38 special cases, and we're going to load it with a magnum load of 7 grains of long shot powder with those Tula Magnum small pistol primers. So we adjust the Lee neck expander die, mouth flaring die, so that the bullet just goes in like so. And that's all the flaring we need. 38 special, 170 grain Keith semi-wad cutter. So we go ahead and neck expand, mouth flare each case, and then we reprime the case on the downstroke with the Tula Magnum primers. So let's go ahead and keep doing that. We won't show you too many of those. There we go. So here's our mixed brass that we had decapped and then tumbled. So now I'm going to go ahead and resize them. And I'm asking myself, why didn't I resize them at the same time I decapped them before I tumbled them? Then I wouldn't have to do this step. Well, it's up to you whether you want to save a step or not. but I found that if you resize and decap your brass first and then tumble them, you'll get the same result and you save yourself a step. So now we have all our cases primed. Here are HPR brass, all sorted, and here is our Remington Peters nickel plated brass, all sorted, and here's mixed brass, all primed with the Magnum small pistol Tula primers. We're ready to do the powder charging. So here's our Hornady automatic powder dispenser, long shot powder. We've got it calibrated, set for slow speed. There it is, auto mode. We'll enter 7 grains of powder and enter that into target, hit dispense, and it'll dispense 7 grains. Slowing down at 6. The slow trickle is already in the program, so we don't have to reset that. 6.7, 6.8. You can see what's happening over here. And there's 7 grains. We'll go ahead and put that into the case and then let it dispense another charge. Now for bullet seating, I've got the Lee seater die here, and what I've done is I've ground the seating stem flat so that it will accommodate the flat nose bullet nicely. So the seating stem, if it's curved for round nose bullets or if it's for a certain shape, the flat works best for all semi-wad cutters and flat nose bullets that we like to use. So let's go ahead and set this die to seat this bullet. Now of course we're not going to crimp with this die because we want to use the Lee factory crimp die, but right now we just want to use this die to seat the bullet to the right depth. So let's go ahead and put the die body in, but not far enough to get any crimp. Good, no crimp. So now we're going to lower the seating stem to get the bullet right to where the crimping groove is. And there we have it. So we powder charge a case, throw another charge in the Hornady while we go ahead and seat the bullet. And there it is. So we'll just keep doing this now until we have all the bullets seated. So here we have our seated bullets, the HPR matched brass here. Underneath we have our Remington Peters nickel matched brass. And then here we have mixed brass. But let's go ahead and crimp these with a fine Lee factory crimp die. So the Lee factory carbide crimp die has a carbide ring in there that actually will size the case. You see we have some resistance there. And then here is the crimp. We'll give it a little more crimp. There we go. So we'll go ahead and crimp all of them now. You see there's a little bit of sizing going on. So the Lee factory crimp die is doing some good work here. Some cases don't require much sizing from the carbide ring, others take a little bit more. We'll go ahead and run all those through. So we have the same load of 7 grains of long shot and the 174 grain Keith semi-wad cutter bullet, the same Tula primers. The only difference is that right here we have matched HPR brass on top, and then on the bottom we have matched Remington Peters nickel brass. Going to compare the consistency of this with the mixed brass. To answer the question, do we have to sort our brass for best results with handguns? See you at the range.